I am going to attempt to show you how I set up to knit two sleeves at the same time. I really like doing this because I don't have to do that second sleeve and wish the sweater was finished. So what I did was I'm going to use two circular needles. So with one circular needle over here, I picked up stitches off of the cast on, starting in the center, picked up stitches off of the underarm cast on, picked up stitches and knit them, knit around my sleeve, picked up on the other side of the underarm cast on. So this row starts in the middle of the underarm cast on. There we are. And I put a marker after the first stitch. And I also put another marker at the top of the sleeve by counting my stitches. So this is half of the sleeve and this is the other half of the sleeve. And then I knit one more round. So I have knit 2 rounds around this sleeve. And then I did the same thing over here with another ball of yarn and a different needle. And you will note that I am using two circulars that look different. It's helpful if they don't look exactly the same as you're knitting. So I started in the middle of the underarm cast on, picked up stitches, knit around my sleeve, picked up stitches on the other half of the underarm cast on. And I put another marker in the middle of the top of the sleeve. So now I am going to attempt to show you how to set it up so that you can knit them at the same time on two circulars. So this is the front, and I'm going to fold the two underarms into the middle. So this is because this is going to be sitting in your lap for a while, and I would rather the back be in my lap than the front getting maybe a little extra friction that it doesn't need. So first of all, I am going to take this needle and on the front, the end that's the front, here we are, and leave this yarn in the middle there. Okay, so I'm going to take this needle that's on the front of my sleeve. This is the underarm, this is the underarm. I'm going to use this wool over here, and I am going to knit half of my sleeve. So here we go. Pull that out. And I am going to knit the front half of this sleeve there onto the front needle of this sleeve. Okay, so here we go. And I am going to, so I have one marker here. This is going to be the beginning of my round. So I am knitting here, and I will just pause for a moment. You don't need to be watching me knit 35 stitches. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So I have used this front needle over here, and I have knit across the front of this sleeve off of this needle. So I'm just coming to the top. Okay. Whoop, there we are. Put that down. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that like that. And then I am going to turn all my knitting to the back. Here we go. So now I have turned it upside down, and I am using this yarn over here. So now I'm going to take the other end of this needle on the back of this sleeve. So there it is. And I am going to knit it back on itself. So here we go. So I'm going to pull this one out. And now, if I can get my yarn This is, yes, very messy. Okay, so now I am with the other end of this needle. I am knitting this side of the sleeve. There we go. And I will just pause for a moment. Okay, so I have knit this back of the sleeve onto its own needle. So I'm just coming to the end of the underarm here. Okay, there. So now the front half of this sleeve is now on this blue, I'm going to call it blue needle, and the gray needle, blue needle, and now the back is on this gray needle. And now I am going to drop that yarn over here and pick up this yarn from this ball over here, and I am going to knit, drop that yarn, pick up this yarn, and now I'm going to knit the back of this sleeve onto my same needle I was working on, but I've dropped the yarn. Okay, here we go. So here we go. I'm using the ball that's connected to this sleeve, and I am knitting onto this gray needle. I'll just pause again for a minute. Okay, I have almost finished knitting the back of this sleeve onto this gray needle. Almost to the top here, because this is my marker at the top of my sleeve. Okay, there we go. Pull this out, pull this out. Now, as messy as that is, I am set up. So I am going to flip it around. Don't need that. I am going to flip it around upside down again. Okay, here we are. So here's my 2 balls of yarn. I have, here we go. There, I finished knitting here. Okay, so now I have the front of this sleeve on the needle with the blue cable. There we are, with the blue cable. And the backs on the gray cable, the other needle. This is why it's handy if they are 2 different styles of needle. It's just easier to keep track. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bigger marker and I'm going to join these up like this, so that now they can't separate and I can't get halfway around and wonder where I am. I want to hold, I'm going to move it up a little bit. I want to hold these sort of together so that I know where I am. So now I can take this needle and take the other end of it, pull it around, and with 2 circulars, you are always knitting back on the needle itself. So I finished knitting here. So I am going to take the other end of this needle around, and I'm going to use the ball from this sleeve, knit across to here, drop that yarn, continue with this yarn for this other sleeve, this yarn here, knit across to here, flip it over, and then with the gray needle, I am going to knit back on itself, knit across here, drop this yarn, pick up the yarn over here, and knit across. I hope that helps in some way to explain how this works. And then I put a marker here. This is the beginning of my round. So on my decrease rounds for my tapering my sleeve, I would start here knit 1, do a decrease, decrease, knit 1, and I have a marker over here, and this is where I'm going to start the other sleeve. Knit 1, decrease, knit around, decrease, knit 1. So there you go. That's how you set it up.